What are the Noahide Laws, and why might they become the ultimate law of the land across most of the world here soon? Stick around to the end of this video and find out the details and what you must do to prepare for what is coming. Imagine standing in the vast emptiness before creation, before the heavens and the earth, before time and space, before even a single word was spoken. In that infinite stillness, something emerges. Not chaos, not randomness, but order, structure, divine law. Why is law essential to the fabric of existence? The universe is not a place of disorder, it is a place of precision. Every star that burns, every planet that moves, every law of physics that governs the natural world operates with absolute consistency. Nothing exists without a framework, without a boundary, without a set of laws that hold reality together. And within this grand orchestration of divine intelligence, something extraordinary happens. The first human opens his eyes. He is not placed in the world as an accident. He is placed as a being of responsibility, endowed with consciousness, free will, and a unique purpose, to align himself with the divine structure of creation. But what does this alignment look like? What laws govern human existence? What authority establishes what is right and wrong? From the very beginning, the Creator gave humanity a legal and moral code, a structure to follow, ensuring that the world does not descend into chaos. These foundational principles, later codified as the 7 Noahide Laws, were not simply rules given to one man or one generation. They are the spiritual laws of civilization itself, designed to ensure harmony, justice, and the proper relationship between humanity and its creator. These laws, though often reduced to 7 simple prohibitions, are in reality broad categories that encompass an entire legal and ethical framework. They include Law 1, the absolute rejection of idolatry, ensuring that mankind recognizes the one true God who governs all existence. Law 2, the prohibition against blasphemy, which is not merely about speech, but about the proper reverence for the divine authority that sustains reality itself. Law 3, the sanctity of human life, expressed through the prohibition of murder and the recognition that life itself is an expression of divine will. Law 4, the necessity of moral purity, guarding against relationships and behaviors that corrupt the soul and damage the sacred fabric of human existence. Law 5, the principles of honest dealings and property rights, which demand that societies operate with fairness and justice, forbidding theft in all its forms. Law 6, the requirement of ethical treatment of all living creatures, ensuring that even the natural world is governed by compassion and restraint. And finally, Law 7, the establishment of a just legal system where courts uphold righteousness and no society is left without moral accountability. At first glance, one might think these laws are simply about social order, a means of keeping the peace, but that is far from the full truth. These laws are not human creations. They are not derived from philosophical discussions or social contracts. They are divine in origin. They are a reflection of something much deeper, the very nature of God as Elohim, the ultimate force of nature, structure, and law in creation. In the Torah, there are many names of God, but the name Elohim is unique. It is the name used at the very beginning of Genesis, the name associated with creation itself, the name linked to judgment and structure. This name has a numerical value, gematria, of 86, the same as the Hebrew word hateva, which means nature. This is no coincidence. What we call nature is not a separate entity from God. It's God's structure, the law-bound framework of existence. The physical laws of the universe, the law of gravity, the movement of the planets, the properties of energy and matter, are not random. They are manifestations of divine wisdom. In the same way that the laws of physics govern the material world, the laws of Torah govern the moral and spiritual world. Just as no one can defy gravity without consequences, no society can defy divine law and remain standing. Rejecting divine law, and specifically the Noahide Law, is not merely disobedience, it is a rebellion against the very structure of reality. It's a rejection of God himself. Throughout history, we see what happens when societies abandon the divine order. The generation of the flood did not perish because of simple wrongdoing. The Torah says that the earth was filled with corruption, Genesis 6:11. They had dismantled the fabric of law itself. Theft was rampant, morality was disregarded, and there was no longer any respect for divine authority. The result? The world collapsed upon itself, washed away in a flood of its own making. The Tower of Babel was not destroyed because the people built too high. It was destroyed because they sought to replace divine governance with human rule, creating a civilization in defiance of God's structure. Again and again, empires rise and fall, not because of external enemies, but because they cut themselves off from divine truth. Even in our time, societies drift further from these universal principles, seeking to redefine morality, justice, and even the natural order. But no civilization can long endure when it contradicts the laws of creation itself. In the soon-coming era of Mashiach, the world will return to the truth it has long resisted. It will not happen through force. It will not happen through conquest. It will happen because the veil will be lifted and people will see reality for what it truly is. The Messiah brings Mashiach consciousness, divine knowledge and revelation of absolute truth. The prophet Isaiah tells us, "For from Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Hashem from Jerusalem." The nations will willingly embrace the divine order because it will become as clear and undeniable as the sun in the sky. The Sanhedrin of 70 elders, mirroring the 70 nations of the world, will be restored not as mere judges, but as the earthly manifestation of divine wisdom. Every nation will be governed by truth. The Noahide Laws will be universally understood, not as an imposition, but as the natural state of existence. It will be the normative way of living in society. The world will no longer be divided by power struggles, but united under truth. Idolatry will cease. Corruption will disappear. The name of Hashem will be known by all. This is not a dream. It is not a utopia. It is the natural destiny of creation. A world fully aligned with its source, the God of order and law. A world in which law and righteousness are not questioned, but embraced as the very foundation of life itself. Ultimately, there is no separation between God and law. To accept divinely given law is to accept God. And to reject the law is to reject God. It is to reject the very foundation of existence. As we approach the days of the Messiah, we must recognize that our task is not to create something new, but to return to what was always true, to bring the world into alignment with the structure that sustains it. And when that day comes, the world will no longer be confused. It will no longer be divided like Babel. It will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem as waters cover the sea. May we all be blessed to see this day soon. Thank you for watching. This has been a teaching and presentation by Avraham Emunah. The views expressed here are mine alone and are not meant to be an authoritative representation of any one religious tradition.